My parents lost their minds. When I bought a house for myself and not my brother, I'm still processing what happened, and honestly, I need to get this off my chest. I'm Jake, 28 years old, and I just bought my first house. You'd think my parents would be proud, right? Wrong. They're absolutely furious because I didn't buy one for my brother too. Let me explain this insanity. Growing up, I was always the responsible one, while my brother Marcus was the creative one. Parents speak for Jake will figure his life out, but Marcus needs constant help and attention. Marcus is 26, 2 years younger than me, and has been coddled his entire life. When we were kids, I had chores. He had artistic pursuits. When I wanted guitar lessons, they said we couldn't afford it. When Marcus wanted the same thing 6 months later, suddenly they found the money. This pattern continued through high school. I worked part-time jobs to save for college, while Marcus focused on his art. I got decent grades, nothing spectacular, but I worked hard. Marcus barely graduated, but hey, he was finding himself. When college time came, I had saved enough to cover about half my tuition. I was proud of that. My parents helped with the rest, but made it clear it was a loan I'd need to pay back. Marcus decided college wasn't for him. Instead, my parents bankrolled his gap year that turned into 3 gap years. During this time, he lived at home rent-free, had his car insurance paid, and received a monthly allowance for art supplies. When he finally decided to go to art school, guess what? My parents paid the full tuition up front. No loans, no expectations of paying it back. I graduated with a degree in computer science and landed a decent job at a tech company. Not Google or Apple, but a solid mid-size company with good benefits. I moved out immediately, got a small apartment, and started paying back my student loans while my parents continued supporting Marcus through art school. Fast forward to last year. I'd been promoted twice, was making good money, and had been saving aggressively. Marcus had graduated art school and moved back home. He was building his portfolio and networking, which seemed to involve a lot of coffee shop meetings and Instagram posts. My parents were still covering all his expenses. Every family dinner became an interrogation about my life. When are you going to buy a house, Jake? You're throwing money away on rent. Marcus really needs his own space to create. The subtext was always clear. I should be doing more, achieving more, providing more. Meanwhile, Marcus would sit there nodding along, occasionally chiming in with comments like, "Yeah, Jake, you've always been good with money. You should totally get a place." It was maddening. Here I was, completely self-sufficient, being lectured about my life choices while my adult brother was being hand-fed across the table. The breaking point came during Thanksgiving last year. My aunt asked about our plans, and my mom launched into this speech about how excited she was that both her sons would soon be homeowners. I was confused until she explained that she and my dad had been discussing options for helping Marcus get started with a down payment. "What about Jake?" my aunt asked. "Oh, Jake's fine," my mom said dismissively. "He has his job. Marcus needs more support right now." I excused myself to the bathroom and had a minor breakdown. Here they were, planning to buy my brother a house while I'd been scrimping and saving for years to afford my own down payment. That night, I decided I was done waiting for their approval or support. I started house hunting immediately. I'd been pre-approved for a mortgage and had saved a solid down payment. After 2 months of searching, I found the perfect place. A 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house in a good neighborhood. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I didn't tell my parents I was looking. I didn't ask for advice. I didn't invite them to viewings. When the offer was accepted, I handled everything myself. It felt incredibly liberating. The day I closed on the house, I drove straight to my parents' place to share the news. Marcus was there, naturally, working on some digital art project on the couch. "Hey everyone," I announced. "I just bought a house." The silence was deafening. My mom looked like I'd just told her I was joining a cult. My dad's face went through several emotions before settling on anger. "You bought a house?" my mom finally said, "without telling us?" "Yep. 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, nice neighborhood. I'm excited." "What about Marcus?" my dad demanded. I stared at him. "What about Marcus? We've been planning to help him get a place. Now you go and buy one without even discussing it with us? Why would I need to discuss my financial decisions with you?" My mom jumped. Because we're a family, Jake. We discuss big decisions together. We were going to help Marcus first because he needs more support, and then we'd help you." "I don't need help," I said. I saved up and bought it myself. That's incredibly selfish, my dad said. You know your brother's situation. You could have waited. Marcus, who had been quiet this whole time, finally spoke up. It's okay, guys. I'm happy for Jake. But my parents weren't done. No, it's not okay, my mom said. This is about family values, about looking out for each other. I laughed. I actually laughed. Looking out for each other. I've been looking out for myself since I was 16. When did you ever look out for me? We raised you, fed you, put you through college. You gave me loans for college that I paid back in full. You paid for Marcus's education outright. That's different. Marcus needed more support. Marcus is 26 years old and lives in your basement. The fight escalated from there. My mum started crying, saying I was being cruel to Marcus and ungrateful to them. My dad accused me of being jealous and petty. Marcus just sat there looking uncomfortable, occasionally mumbling that it was fine. I left that night feeling angry and confused. Was I being selfish? Was I supposed to put my life on hold until my parents deemed it appropriate for me to succeed? The next few weeks were rough. My parents called daily, alternating between guilt trips and demands that I explain my sudden decision to buy a house. They wanted to know how I'd saved so much money, who helped me, whether I'd taken out risky loans. When I explained that I'd been saving systematically for 3 years and had gotten pre-approved through normal channels, they seemed almost disappointed. You should have told us, my mom kept saying. We could have advised you. Advised me on what? How to save money? How to get a mortgage? I'm 28 years old with a stable job. This isn't rocket science. The real kicker came when I was moving in. I'd hired movers and was directing them when my parents showed up unannounced. They walked through the house, making comments about the layout, the neighborhood, the price I must have paid. This is too big for one person, my mom observed. I might get a roommate, I said. Marcus could move in with you, my dad suggested. Split the costs. I stopped dead. Absolutely not. Why not? He's your brother? Because this is my house that I bought with my money and I want to live alone. You're being selfish again. I'm being independent. There's a difference. They left in a huff, and I didn't hear from them for a week. When they finally called, it was to tell me they'd decided to accelerate their timeline for helping Marcus buy a place. We were going to wait until next year, my mom explained, but your decision has forced our hand. We need to be fair. How is that fair? I bought my own house with my own money, and now Marcus feels left behind. Marcus is an adult. If he wants a house, he can save for one like I did. Not everyone is as lucky as you, Jake. Lucky. I was lucky. Not hard-working, not disciplined, not responsible. Lucky. Update 1. It's been 6 months since I bought my house, and the family drama has only intensified. My parents did indeed buy Marcus a house. Not just any house, a 4-bedroom, 3-bathroom house in a more expensive neighborhood than mine. They put down a massive down payment and are covering most of his mortgage payments as help until he gets established. When they invited me over to see Marcus's new place, I was honestly speechless. His house was easily worth $150,000 more than mine. The kitchen had granite countertops and stainless steel appliances. The master bedroom was twice the size of mine. He had a dedicated art studio. Isn't it wonderful? My mom gushed. Marcus finally has space to really pursue his passion. I walked through the house in a daze. My parents had spent more on Marcus's down payment than I earned in an entire year. When I asked how they could afford it, my dad explained they'd taken money from their retirement fund and gotten a second mortgage on their own house. We wanted to make sure Marcus had the same opportunities you've had, my mum said. The same opportunities. I'd worked 2 jobs in college. I'd lived in a studio apartment for 3 years to save money. I'd bought the cheapest reliable car I could find and driven it for 8 years. These weren't opportunities. They were sacrifices. But here's where it gets really interesting. About a month after Marcus moved in, I got a call from him. He was panicking because he'd gotten the mortgage bill and realized he couldn't afford the monthly payments, even with my parents' help. The property taxes alone were more than I paid in rent at my old apartment. Can you lend me some money, he asked, just until I get some art sales going. I said no, firmly, clearly no. He seemed shocked. But we're brothers. Brothers who are both adults with our own financial responsibilities. Mom and Dad think you should help. Mom and Dad should have thought about the monthly costs before buying you a house you can't afford. That's when the real guilt campaign started. My parents called me selfish, ungrateful, and jealous. They said I was jealous of Marcus's success and bitter about my own choices. They claimed I was trying to sabotage his happiness. The breaking point came at my birthday dinner. Yes, my own birthday dinner. We were at a restaurant, and instead of celebrating, my parents spent the entire meal lecturing me about family obligations. They said real family members help each other succeed, not tear each other down. I'm not tearing anyone down, I said. I'm just not cleaning up financial messes that aren't mine. Your brother is struggling, my mom said. Your brother is struggling because you bought him a house he can't afford. We thought you'd help him with the payments. I put down my fork. You thought I'd help pay for his mortgage? You're doing well. You have extra income. I have extra income because I live within my means. My dad leaned forward. Marcus is family. Family comes first. Where was that philosophy when I was working my way through college? That was different. How? Silence. I stood up, threw some money on the table for my meal, and left my own birthday dinner. I was done. Update 2. It's been over a year now, and the situation has reached a whole new level of crazy. Marcus ended up defaulting on his mortgage payments after 6 months. My parents tried to cover the shortfall, but between their own mortgage and Marcus's, they were stretched too thin. They actually came to me asking for a loan to help save Marcus's house. We'll pay you back, my dad promised. When? How? When Marcus starts selling his art. I laughed. Not meanly, but I genuinely laughed at the absurdity. Dad, Marcus has been about to start selling his art for 6 years. This is different. He has a proper studio now. A studio he's about to lose because he can't afford the house it's in. The conversation ended with my mom in tears and my dad storming out. They didn't speak to me for 2 months. During this time, I learned from my aunt, who's always been the reasonable one in the family, that my parents had actually planned this whole thing. They'd assumed I would help pay for Marcus's house because I was more financially stable. Their entire plan had been to use my responsibility and success to subsidize my brother's lifestyle. When Marcus lost the house to foreclosure, he moved back in with my parents. But here's the kicker. They blamed me for the foreclosure. Not the unrealistic budget, not the lack of income, not the poor planning. Me, because I didn't help. At Christmas, my aunt finally lost it with them. We were all at her house, and my parents started their usual complaints about my selfishness. My aunt cut them off mid-sentence. "Are you listening to yourselves?" she said. "Jake bought his own house with his own money. You bought Marcus a house he couldn't afford with money you didn't have. Jake is the only one who made responsible decisions here, and you're mad at him for it? Jake could have helped," my mom protested. "Jake is not Marcus's parent, you are, and you set Marcus up for failure." The room went dead quiet. Then my aunt continued, "You've spent 30 years teaching Marcus that other people will solve his problems, and you've spent 30 years expecting Jake to solve everyone's problems while getting no support himself. Look at the results." My mom started crying. My dad got defensive. Marcus, predictably, said nothing. But my aunt wasn't finished. "Jake, tell them about your promotion." I'd been promoted again and was now making significantly more money than when I bought my house. I hadn't mentioned it to my parents, because every time I shared good news, it somehow became about what I should be doing for Marcus. "You got promoted?" my mom asked. 6 months ago. Why didn't you tell us?" "Because every conversation we have turns into a lecture about how I should be supporting Marcus." The truth was, I'd been considering buying a bigger house or investing in rental property. I'd actually been doing quite well for myself, but I'd stopped sharing my success with my family because they saw it as a resource to be allocated to Marcus rather than something to celebrate. Update 3. Final. It's been 2 years since I bought my house, and I'm writing this from my home office in the investment property I bought 6 months ago. Yes, I bought a second house. No, I didn't tell my parents until after the fact. The family dynamics have completely shifted. Marcus, now 28, has finally gotten a job. Not in art. He's working at a marketing firm doing graphic design. It's entry level, but it's income. He's living with my parents and actually paying them a small amount of rent. My parents have slowly started to realize that their approach might have been flawed. It started when Marcus began working, and suddenly had to manage his own schedule, deadlines, and responsibilities. He struggled initially because he'd never had to be truly accountable for anything. My mom actually said to me, "I never realized how much we protected him from real life." The turning point came when Marcus himself apologized to me. He called me out of the blue one evening and said, "I never thanked you for not enabling me like everyone else did. The house thing was a disaster, but losing it forced me to grow up. I should have been working years ago." We had a long conversation about family dynamics and expectations. He admitted he'd always felt pressured to be the artistic one because that was the role assigned to him, even though he wasn't sure it was what he really wanted. The job he has now combines creativity with practical skills, and he seems happier than he's been in years. My parents have been slower to come around, but they're getting there. My dad actually asked for my advice about their finances recently. The second mortgage they took out for Marcus's house really strained them, and they're trying to figure out how to recover. I helped them create a budget and referred them to a financial advisor. My mom has stopped making comments about my selfishness, though she still occasionally sighs about how different our family is from others. I think she's slowly accepting that maybe different isn't bad. As for me, I love my house. I've made it exactly what I want it to be. I have a garden, a workshop in the garage, and friends over for dinner. Regularly. The investment property is doing well, and I'm building real financial security for the future. The best part? I'm not angry anymore. For a long time I was furious about the unfairness of it all, but I've realized that my parents' dysfunction actually taught me independence and self-reliance. Marcus got financial support, but I got something more valuable, the confidence that I can take care of myself, no matter what happens. Last month, my parents came to my house for dinner for the first time since I bought it. My mum looked around and said, "You've made this really nice, Jake. I can see why you wanted your own place." It wasn't a full apology, but it was acknowledgement, and honestly, that was enough. I've learned that you can't control how your family treats you, but you can control how you respond. I chose to stop waiting for their approval and start building the life I wanted. It was the best decision I ever made. Sometimes being the responsible one means being responsible for your own happiness, even when that disappoints people who expect you to be responsible for theirs.